Welcome to Chapter 8 of the Subaru lineartronic CVT Generation 1 transmission. In this chapter, you're going to learn about transmission resets. We'll also cover recommended programming updates and the Relearn test drive procedure. My name is Jared Warren, and I will be your host for this course. It's a great day to fix transmissions, so let's get started. Transmission relearn procedure is required when changing a transmission, like a new transmission from the dealer or a remanufactured transmission, used transmission. Also, if we change TCM or major transmission work, like torque converter replacement, valve bladder replacement, or rebuilt the transmissions ourselves, we need to go ahead and do a transmission relearn when we get done. First thing we need to do is warm up or cool the transmission down until the temperature is between 104 and 149 degrees Fahrenheit. It has to be within those ranges, or the reset will not take. Well, shifter lever needs to be in park. We need to apply the electronic park brake. Make sure the electronic park brake is all the way down. Lift the car up on a hoist. Connect your Subaru Select monitor or your aftermarket scan tools are able to do some of these resets also. Still kind of hit and miss on the resets on the aftermarket scan tools for these vehicles. Key needs to be on. We need to turn off all switches and electrical loads, meaning headlights, windshield wipers, heated seats, AC, rear window defrosters, those kind of things. Make sure all the electrical loads are turned off. On the scan tool, go to Transmission Diagnostics. That's for the Subaru scan tool. Aftermarket scan tool a lot of times says Functional Tests. Go into the AT Learning mode or Trans Relearn mode. And then you're going to go ahead and follow the procedures on the scan tool. Most of them have you put it into gear, wait a couple seconds, put it back into drive, wait a couple seconds. Kind of like a Chrysler Relearn in a way. But just follow the procedures on the scan tool because there is different procedures for different vehicles. If the relearn was done, it's going to say AT Learn is complete. Others say done. So you'll want to see that message at the very end. If you have a communication problem, scan tool turned off or something along those lines, go ahead and just go to AT Learning mode and start from the very beginning again. If it executes or it quits trying to do the learning procedure, you need to make sure you fix all the trouble codes. Usually a code will pop up, let's say like a solenoid code, something along those lines, will pop up during the reset, and it's going to abort the reset and just find the trouble code and take care of the code and then do it over. We have seen some vehicles that have problems where the shifter won't come out of gear after the reset. So basically all they want you to do is turn the vehicle off, turn the key back on, and move the shifter position, see if it moves. Then if it does, go ahead and start the relearning procedure again, over from the very beginning. If the relearn did not complete, some other reasons this happens, use this chart. A fault is detected, like a code, solenoid, or something along those lines. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a transmission code. It can be in other systems, will also cause a transmission not to reset or relearn. The accelerator pedal is depressed during the procedure. Let's say you bump the accelerator pedal or throttle angle changes. This also will, if the engine idle picks up during the reset, say like a vacuum leak or engine runability issue, it'll also abort the reset. Transmission temperature is another big one. It needs to be between 104 and 149 degrees Fahrenheit. Low battery voltage or charging system voltage. If that's low, it's going to abort. And if your park brake is not firmly seated all the way down, it'll also abort. So those are some of the few reasons why the resets do not work. As for programming, Best to always go to Subaru's site and get the latest TSBs and the latest programming from them. Sometimes these things change weekly, sometimes it changes daily. So the most common and best practice is to go to the OEM site, enter your VIN in, and get the most updated programming. A couple TSBs found for the Generation 1 transmission, 2010 and 2012 vehicles for the Legacy and the Outbacks. Does have an updated TCM calibration, and it is to help the primary oil pressure circuit. There were many different calibration codes, roughly 10-ish, 15 different calibrations for the different models. So I didn't want to put in the part numbers and the calibration numbers because you need to look up per your VIN to make sure you get the correct one. 2002 Legacy and Outback. There's an update for the TCM for lack of power in reverse for the 2000 model or 2010 model Generation 1 transmission. So if you have lack of reverse, it may only need a TCM update. With all the codes cleared and transmission relearned, we want to drive this vehicle now to get the relearn procedure to teach this transmission how to work. So best way I've found to do this is basically drive the vehicle with 30% throttle, go from 0 to 40 and then slow back down. Do that roughly 5 to 10 times. Then start increasing your throttle and under heavier loads, and make sure the ratio change is good under heavy throttle also. I usually put about 10 to 15 miles on the vehicle, and then by the time I'm done, usually the transmission PID that says transmission learning complete says completed on it. So under the PID list and the transmission side, you can go to that PID and see if your transmission is relearned before you give it to the customer. I have heard some vehicles do take a couple drive cycles to do this, so it may not always be possible for the relearn to be completed. It may take up to 100 miles for the relearn to complete. I've seen usually around 15 miles or less. This will conclude our chapter on system resets and initializations for the Subaru lineartronic CVT Generation 1 transmission. We want to thank you for participating in our virtual training solutions powered by ATRA. Until next time, let's keep fixing transmissions together.